Good afternoon and welcome to the Student Enrichment Team Employer Panel today. I'm your host, Dina, and we have a selection of employers with us today. And I'm just going to ask them to introduce themselves. So if we start with Dale.
Oh, bear with me. Okay, there we go. Sorry, thought we had on mute. So my name's Dale. I'm the Assistant Social Value Manager at NG. So I look after the apprenticeships, traineeships, graduate schemes, work experience, school liaisons, and lots of other different bits and bobs for the different schemes we have. I'm currently working on Leicester Freeman's Common for the next year or so. So that's me.
Before I introduce the next person, Dale, if you could just briefly explain what NG does.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so we're a multinational company worth roughly an estimate of about £70 billion. We've got a footprint in the UK in 3 different areas. So we cover facilities, services, energy, and also construction. And I work for the construction sector.
Thank you. If I hand over to Keith.
Hello there. Can everyone hear me all right? Okay, so my name's PC Keith Thomas and I'm a police officer at Leicestershire Police. I've been with the organisation some 16 and a half years now. I've worked in various segments of the business, first one being the response model, which is basically a police car that you see responding to 999 calls out there on the street. I have then worked in an investigation team, which was the other side of that role. This is dealing with the offenders once they've been arrested, interviewing them, preparing case files and getting them to court, and finally ending up on a beat team where basically I was a foot officer, had my own area that I was responsible for, and it was my job to then work with the crime and the solutions and business solutions for that area. Before finally joining the recruitment team, which is where I'm at the moment, where I'm responsible for recruitment of the graduate scheme. We do detective schemes, we do our apprenticeship, myself and Fiona, and Fiona's out there, which you'll be meeting her shortly. And that's me. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith. If we go on to Fiona.
Thank you, Dina. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is PC Fiona White. I've been with Leicestershire Police since 1998, so slightly longer than Keith, but started off my career in exactly the same way as a response police officer. My career path took me on a slightly different route to Keith's, and I became what's called an instant response car driver or an area car driver, which is the car that has the primary responsibility for all the offences that are taking place here and now. And then in 2007, I went up to be part of a specialised department called the Roads Policing Unit. If you've ever watched Motorway Cops or Police Interceptors, that was pretty much me. And we had the very specialised role of dealing with anything and everything related to traffic, use of the roads, from vehicles that carried hazardous chemicals to stopping stolen cars to dealing with multiple incidents on the motorway. Then last year, a very different change of direction, using the experience and the knowledge that I'd gained over the last 21 years to come into recruiting to try and inspire young people to follow a pathway into Leicestershire Police.
Thank you very much. Gemma?
Thanks, Dina. My name's Gemma Jackson. I'm the Employability Manager at Leicester College. So I'm responsible for helping to organise and put into place work experience, work preparation, work placements and those sorts of things.
Thank you. If we go over to Sheila.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Sheila and I work for an organisation called Vista. Vista is a sight loss charity and we cover Leicester, Leicestershire and Rutland. What we do is we look after, provide support service to people who have lost their sight or are at risk of losing their sight. So it's preventing the sight loss and avoiding the sight loss as such. So my particular role is I'm the prevention and intervention coordinator. The idea is that we are like the frontline staff. So we have eye clinic liaison officers based in hospital eye clinics, and we hold the register for the blind. What that basically means is that when you fill certain forms in, there's a question saying, are you registered blind? And it's that register that we keep hold of. The things that we do is we help with the emotional practical support at the initial stage when people are diagnosed with a condition in the hospitals. Then we have our own rehab team who goes into the people's homes, do the assessment and put measures in place with a view to helping them with their independence and confidence building exercise. Then we do social groups for people who are lonely and isolated, because you could imagine that if your eyes are going, your world is shutting down. And it's a very, very lonely world. From there on, we have bigger, massive Vista burst that goes out and about in the community, offering free screening of eyes, because lots of people don't go to the opticians for whatever reasons, in denial, don't feel the need, or accept that, oh, with age, this happens. But these days, in this past year, I think we've all been glued to our screens, whether it's the phones, or laptops or iPads or televisions. So therefore, everybody's eyes are deteriorating, and we want to keep an eye that how we can sort of avoid the disastrous end result. So what we do is we also work with children and their families. So straight from birth to 100 plus, anybody who's got sight loss, we are here to support. Then we have a digital vision team who goes out and about training people how to use their iPhones. There are so many gadgets where people who are totally blind can live their lives independently. So they go and train them. We have a deaf-blind team who works with people who have got sight impairment and hearing impairment as well. Then we provide talking newspapers, audiobooks. We have charity shops scattered all over. And we also have 4 residential homes, which specializes for people who's got dementia and also severely disabled people as well. There are a host of things that we provide, but ask away any questions. But we are a charity, so we rely on foundations, trusts, funding, basically.
Thank you.
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sheila. My first question to the panel is, what challenges have you faced during your career journey and how did you overcome them? So if I can start with Keith and Fiona first. So I'll pop the question over to you first, Keith.
Thank you, Dina. Thank you for picking me first. Challenges, okay. I mean, in the role that I'm in, there's quite a lot of challenges on a sort of a day-by-day basis. But I would probably say one of the biggest challenges that I faced within the role was paperwork management. It is so crucial and so necessary to have accurate and detailed paperwork, and that's because you're dealing with the victims, you're dealing with offenders, you have to present case files. Those case files may end up at court, and if they do, they've got to be in such a state that they can be used by a court official who will probably get hold of this document last minute. So you're you've also got the legal element with that paperwork, which means that you have to follow that legal line because your case might depend on it should it go to court. And if it goes to court and you're the person that put the wrong bit of information in there or neglected to add a bit of information, that could be the reason why that particular case file doesn't make it through the court process and it gets kicked out of court. And that is quite a hefty burden to carry when something like that happens. So for me, that was probably the hardest side, and I did struggle with it a lot at first, but I had a great support network within my local team, first of all, which are my own sergeants and my colleagues, right through the management and the provision that they provided to go on courses and do assessments or managing paperwork, managing your time better, and how to prepare the files. We had a team, actually they were called the gatekeeping team, and it was their job to basically gatekeep what you'd done, just to make sure you dotted all the I's, crossed all the T's, hadn't missed out any of the legal elements that was required for that file. They would go through that and then hopefully come back with the result for you to say that your file was suitable to be presented at court. And my little claim to stardom in that is that started way down there at the bottom, complete mess, shambles on the paperwork, and you were graded by the gatekeeper team on a sort of a 1 being not very good to a 5 being excellent. And I finally, after 4 years, got a 5. So I was like, yes, result. So yeah, that's basically mine for now anyway. Over to you, Fiona.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Keith. Slightly different challenges, because having come from an office environment, I had to get used to working shifts. And on a specialised department such as traffic, we work 12-hour shifts, 4 on, 4 off. So the first couple of times during the winter when you're doing a 12-hour night shift, you don't actually see daylight for 3 or 4 days, and that can come with its own challenges. I was what's called a family liaison officer. So I dealt with the families that had members of their family who had unfortunately lost their lives as a result of road traffic collisions. That comes with a whole host of challenges. And then a particular challenge to me was that for 5 years, I was the only female police officer in our entire organisation that carried out my particular role. And there's a conscious or maybe unconscious bias from people that I deal with that don't expect to see a female in my job. To overcome that, simply be the best that I can be. I know that I've got the skills, and I've got absolute confidence, not only in my own ability, but in my colleagues. So I know that if I were working with Keith, you develop a sort of unspoken language between the two of you. And if I need help with something I'm stuck on, I can look at Keith and he'll give me the answer. And the support within the organisation has made pretty much any challenge that we've had to face fairly easy to overcome.
Thank you, Fiona. If I can pose the same question to Sheila. So what barriers have you or challenges have you faced in your career journey, and how did you overcome them?
My background is I used to work for local authorities. And whilst I was working for local authority, and that's 21 years, the roles that I did was planning, building regulations, housing, and then eventually youth offending service. So our colleagues here from the criminal justice system was doing something like that. And I was a victim liaison officer, Fiona, but specialized in restorative justice. So did lots of victim offender mediations. Mediation is something where you bring the two disputing parties together and come to some sort of solution whereby both parties are happy and it's a win-win situation. So as a result, I decided eventually that I wanted to have my own business. And I started my own business in community mediation, which is a lot of people know as Neighbors from Hell dispute. Then family mediation, which was more intergenerational, so between children, parents, siblings, step-parents, that kind of stuff. Then also office disputes and mainly victim offender disputes. So I started my own business, and I used to live up north. But then eventually, due to personal circumstances, I had to move to Midlands. What that meant is all my contacts were up there, and I needed a mortgage. And these are the challenges that we come across in our lives throughout. So I needed a job immediately. So I've been doing many jobs, but they've been like contract jobs. So I worked for the city council again as soon as I came here. Then I worked for a couple of charities, working with offenders, providing housing advice, financial advice. And then eventually I was on sick leave because I had an operation. And at that time, my previous contract was ending. So I started looking for jobs, and I applied to Vista, which I didn't have a clue about, know nothing about eyes as well, in the sense that people have lost eyesight, because sometimes within families, friends, you know somebody or older relatives who might have lost their eyesight. but I didn't have any knowledge. But I just applied for the sake of it. I got the interview, I got the job. I did lots of research work for the interview. And it's going to be 4 years since I've been here. All I can say is I've been presented with lots of challenges because I feel as if I know what I've got to do now. I've got my career sorted. This is where I'm going to invest in. But then situations change and you get thrown back and you're thinking, oh, what shall I do now? So from that point of view, challenges have been all over. But what I have found is if you keep an open mind, I've learned so much from each and every job. And I've also done a lot of volunteer work where I've been a board member. I've chaired board members. In my self-employment, I've done counterterrorism, facilitation, training. I've been a advisor onto the probation trust. I've done projects with colleges and things like that. So yes, I have had many challenges, but keeping an open mind and not getting stuck with thinking, oh my God, this is the plan I had and I failed. Now, what do I do? It's just like move on, because the more you move on, the more you learn things and the more it widens your horizon and you make informed decision. And I've come to a stage whereby I thrive on challenges now because I learn so much from it and I meet so many new people. And that's been my life, really. And I'm happy where I am. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila. If I can pose the same question to Dale.
Yeah, okay. I'd most probably say, well, there's been a lot of challenges throughout my career, but I'd most probably say over the last year, it's been the most, not so much the most difficult, but the most I've had to adapt. My job incorporates traveling a lot. So I've had this in the last few jobs. So typically I'll be traveling 3,000-4,000 miles a month. So traveling to all the different sites I've got around the country, visiting my apprentices, attending lectures at schools and college and universities, and just basically being out and about and forming relationships with clients and new providers and all sorts. And then all of a sudden with lockdown, I'm used to now working in this environment. So I've got a home office. So I've worked at the home office now for a year, near enough a year. So on average, I do about 30 miles a month, which is just going to the shops and back. So I suppose it's just learning to work in a different environment. I suppose in more of an isolated environment. I said learning how to do a lot of the interactions like this, so online, and learning to do this while you've got kids and family and all sorts in the background. Today they're all at school. My wife's working as well, so it's nice and quiet. But Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, it's a little bit more challenging. So yeah, and I must just echo what Sheila said. It's just you've got to adapt. And the thing is, the more challenges you face throughout your career, and this can come from any angle, the more you learn to basically deal with different situations and circumstances, and it just makes you a more rounded person. So with the job I do now, it's an amalgamation of all the different skill sets I've learned before. So I've been a senior manager. I've done all sorts. So I've been a beekeeper. I've worked in the mines. I've done all sorts of different things, and basically by putting yourself in different circumstances and different environments, as I said, it just sets you up for it just makes you a stronger person for the future.
Everything sounds interesting. Beekeeper and mine work is totally different from what you're doing now.
there's a lot of variation on my CV.
A lot of good experiences there as well. Thank you very much, Dale. Over to Gemma, please.
Thanks, Dina. Yes, some exciting, interesting stories we've heard from people there. A bit like Sheila, I've always thrived on new challenges. I've not always made life easy for myself, probably in that way. I chose to have my children very young. So I've got a 19-year-old and a 15-year-old. I had my eldest whilst I was at my second year at uni and was determined to continue and get my degree. And thankfully, he was a nice, quiet baby. So I was able to do that. But I think I became a single parent kind of in my late 20s. So I've got 2 boys. I was living in Yorkshire at the time, doing quite a demanding job. and I needed to change things. So I came back to my roots, which is Loughborough, Leicestershire, and I thought I needed a student liaison officer with Leicester College, in the same team that Dina manages now. So my career has evolved a lot over the last 12 years. It has been challenging with 2 kids, small kids to look after. They're not small now, but equally it is about being resilient, I think, and staying positive. Always try and find solutions. There's no problems, there's always solutions, and really try and just, having a support network is important, to get you through these types of obstacles and challenges, but just never give up, just keep going. And it's okay to try lots of different things out there and not know what you like or you don't like at the age of 16, 17, 18. A bit like Dale, I was a fishmonger. I've done all sorts of things, from the age of about 16. So it is important just to get those experiences and don't be afraid to try new things. Over to you, Dina.
Thank you. So next question is, so if we've got students who are interested in the career paths that you're in at the moment, what tips or advice would you give them, regarding skills or further education that would be beneficial to them? So if I pose a question to Dale first, because you're sort of from a construction background in the industry that you're in at the moment. So, if somebody was looking to go into work for NG or a similar type of organisation, what kind of things would benefit our students? Oh.
God, I was going to get through a day without doing that, but sorry. Okay, so with regards to the skill sets, so it depends which pathway you've got, I suppose. So you've got typically within construction, you've got the trade and the professional route. So if you're going down the trade route, then it's important to start from the bottom, and that's the easiest way to say it. A lot of because again, I employ, I don't know, about 30 apprentices in total, and an apprenticeship in terms of getting into a trade, which is plumbing, electricians, or bricklaying, or whatever it's going to be. It's from school age. It's important to first of all get you English and maths, so either like a GCSE level or functional skills, just to basically be able to enter onto the trade courses. Because if we're going to take a trade person on or an apprentice on, then we basically need to make sure that they've got the requisites to enter onto the college course, and otherwise we can't employ them basically. So it's just making sure that you can enter at that level and then building up the necessary skill set to then advance through the different levels. So an apprenticeship's most will be the best way to start. So either going to college, doing a level 2 or level 3, and then topping it up with an MBQ, or basically doing a straightforward apprenticeship where you're working for an employer and you're basically learning your skill set as well as getting the academic side ticked off. And that basically just starts your career. In terms of the alternate way, so the professional route or the support services route, so that could be working in an office or like management or site management, quantity surveying, whatever it's going to be. Typically, that will involve more of an academic route, so A levels or something leading on to a degree, etc. So for my job, there's I don't know. When I got this job initially, it was beneficial to have a degree. So I've got a degree from a long time ago. But what you need in order to enter that world, I suppose, is some form of education. So in terms of your GCSEs or A levels, but also just have an open mind, because if you basically want to get into that area of construction, or if you want to get into that area of any job, I suppose, then it's just making sure that you don't aim too high straight away. So there's always time for development and growth. So basically starting at an entry level position, working your way through a company, and most of our directors and most of our CEO, they start as an apprentice. So as I said, the pathway's there. It's obviously how tenacious you are and how hard you work to get there. You're on mute now. It's not just me.
If I pose the same question to Sheila, so if somebody was looking to either work for a charity or to come to work for Vista, you know, what would they need to do to be able to what skills or qualities or experiences would they need?
Sure. Okay. So basically, because we do so many different things, there aren't particular qualifications apart from like sign languaging for the deafblind team or the rehabilitation team. But what we do is, being voluntary sector, most of our services are run by, well, without volunteers, we wouldn't. So volunteering would be a good idea to come and have a good feel as to what goes on, because you have got to be a certain type of character to be in like a support service. A lot of people have come and learned a lot and moved on. A lot of people have become our employees as well. But from personal experience point of view, if I have progressed myself career-wise, or may I say personally and professionally, it has been because of volunteering. Because in my personal life, I was at a stage whereby I felt that if all these agencies didn't help me, I wouldn't have made it. And when I'm fitter and better, I would like to put something back into the community. So by doing that, that's when the mediation training was the first bit that I got into it, and it became my career and my passion. So volunteering is the best way, whichever area you're interested in, just go in there. And it also shows to the employer that you're committed, your heart is in it, you're reliable, and you actually do mean business. With lots of times when we do employ people, people come in from money's point of view as well. So I think from Vista's point of view, there are many areas. It's a holistic business. If you're interested in care, if you're interested in health, we got lots of science students because of the eyes. It gives you an experience because eyes is not just eyes. You lose your eyes as a result of stroke. You are diabetic. You have got many other many other illnesses and conditions as well. So from Vista's point of view, volunteering is the best way to put your foot in and have a really good feel and see what you want to do. And there's no harm in changing your mind every so often because you want to keep on enhancing your knowledge.
Thank you, Sheila. Same question to Gemma. So if somebody's looking to come into education, I know there's a many different types of roles in education, but you know, what's the best way, or what skills would you be looking for as an employer?
I think interpersonal skills are really key. You know, you've got to have that ability to talk to people from all different walks of life and backgrounds. You know, you do need to have some degree of confidence, although that can be developed in different roles as well. If you want to be a teacher, there's different routes you can take. You could do a PGCE or a certificate in education, which would be sufficient for you to be able to teach an FE, or go out and get some experience, you know, working for voluntary organisations, charities, you know, all of that kind of experience is really key for employers looking for to take on new recruits, definitely.
Thank you very much. And the same question to Keith and Fiona, please. Fiona,
Okay,
if you want to start.
Not a problem. Qualification-wise, to be a police officer these days, you are required to have a degree. However, we have a police constable degree apprenticeship for non-degree holders, where we will not only employ you as a full-time police officer, but we will also put you through your degree in professional policing practice, whereby at the end of 3 years you will graduate from De Montfort University with a degree that we pay for, as well as paying your salary. In order to be eligible for that scheme, like Dale, we do ask that you have a level 2 qualification in maths and English at the time that you apply to us, and that's a requirement from the university. And we also ask that our applicants have a level 3 qualification by the time of our pre-employment checks. And a level 3 qualification, we will accept 2 A levels at grade A to E, or any other level 3 qualification, so a diploma or an NVQ or a level 3 qualification. And we don't mind what subject it's in at all. Keith, do you want to go on to the skills?
Yeah, I say again, I mean, we have a graduate entry scheme as well, in addition to what Fiona's just mentioned. And again, for that one, you just need to have that degree. All the ground level, all the basics are as Fiona has just said. Skills within the organisation, the skills are many. And I think listening to Sheila and listening to Dale, a lot of what they've said sort of echoes in what we do as well. There's a lot we're going to teach you within the organisation that you can do. However, I think echoing primarily on what Sheila said with the volunteering, at that sort of age of 16, 17, 18, you're quite at the low end of that life experience. But a quick way of gaining that sort of a life skill is by going out there and volunteering, because the beauty about volunteering is that you're not always going to be with people of your own age group. So you're with different people, different ages, and that will very quickly enhance your sort of a life skills that you're going to need. And you'll need those life skills when you come into an organization like ours, purely because you're going to be there the first day you put on your uniform and arrive at your first job. They all look at you and think, here's a person that has the answer to my problem. And you don't always have that answer, but you need to have the skills. You've got to be able to communicate. That is vital, communication within this organization. No, you don't have to be a ninja. You don't have to fight through it, your way through things. The best tool, this one, that's our best tool, negotiating and communicating with people, understanding, and to do all of that, you have to start with these. You've got to start by listening. So it's quite important in what we do and the way that we progress within our organisation.
Thank you, Keith. Before we end our session today, I have a couple of questions. So we have a question from Harry. So if I post the question to Keith and Fiona, they want to know how much you can earn as a police officer.
Okay.
Okay.
Go on, Fiona. Do you want to go first?
Well, absolutely. If you start with us on the police constable degree apprenticeship, which is basically the lowest salary that we pay, we will start you on an annual salary of £18,912. If you join us as a graduate or by the beginning of your year 2 as an apprentice, that goes up to 24,700 and a few change. Now, when you've been with us a couple of years, a top rate PC is £41,130 per year, and you will achieve that within 7 years of joining us. So it's basically 0 to hero in 7 years. However, that is just at the rank of constable. If you want to go for promotion, which you can do after 2 or 3 years, depending on your entry scheme, you'll go up to a sergeant and then inspector, chief inspector, superintendent, all the way up to chief constable when you're looking at 6 figures. So hopefully that's answered that one.
Sounds really good. Anyone else? Any figures that you could help to answer the question in the sector that you're working in?
Yeah, I can throw some figures out if you want. So it depends. If you're starting as an apprentice, then typically you'll work with ourselves. You get a national minimum wage. So it depends on the company. It can be national minimum wage, national minimum apprentice wage. So that's dependent on your age. And then there's just that progression from there. So construction's quite a heavily weighted or heavily paid sector, I suppose. So once we have got that experience and you climb them ranks, then the money goes up. So most quantity surveyors are on, like when my higher apprentices graduate, they're on 35,000 plus. That's kind of the base salary from there. And exactly the same with regards to the progression routes once you get to director at 6 figures. Typically, an average salary, I'd say, in construction across the board for trade, most probably between 25 and £40,000, and that's if you're working for a company. If you're working self-employed, then obviously that figure can skyrocket. Bricklayers can earn £400, £500 a day. But again, it depends on the situations. And if you're working in an office, then again, as I said, the salaries can reflect. So with my particular role, there's the start of the social value officer, it's about £20,000 to £25,000. Once you get to assistant manager, about 35,000, manager 50, and then it just kind of goes up a little bit more. So, although I will say one thing on this, you've got to be happy in your job though. Okay, this is really important. That this is something I preach all the time. Like, by the time I was like 28, I was a senior manager in a bank. I was in charge of 250 people. I was earning £60,000 plus. Hated the job. I hated the responsibility. Hated who I worked for. I just basically, it wasn't me. I didn't fit in with that. But I felt kind of trapped by the money because I was earning such a good wage. I didn't want to kind of leave that. And all my friends were saying you'd be silly. But again, if you're thinking you've got 75% of your day or whatever it's going to be, half your day at least, is going to be working, then you want to be doing something you enjoy. Okay, so I earn less than £60,000 I did then, but I love my job at the moment. So you've got to basically think about that. And again, saying this to youngsters on a daily basis, a lot of the time it's just literally money, car, anything. Basically all these kind of, what you've got on or what, anything like that. And again, you get that because that's obviously the world we're brought up in, the materialistic world, I suppose. But again, definitely thinking about what you want to do and what you're happy to do on a daily basis, because after the years of doing the same job, if you hate it, then it'll start to wear thin. So that's my biggest tip.
Thank you. Sheila?
Your question about how much do you earn, money is very, very important. In voluntary sector, you don't get much money. However, you can progress through, but you will be rich with experience. And it's a small business. Like if you come for Vista, we got fundraising department, we got finance department, we got HR, we got marketing, we got all sorts going on. So experience-wise, you would be very, very rich. And one of the things I would like to say is that sometimes in the same office, one person is doing 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, will be earning minimum wage, which was I think Fiona said 18,000, whatever it was. And then equally at a directorship level, can it be up to 6-figure sum? So the idea is for you to value yourself, upgrade yourself, educate yourself, and put yourself in that position with the experience whereby people want to recruit you either at the minimum level, medium level, or the top 6-figure level. So voluntary sector much, but it will give you lots of experience where you can really go up by valuing yourself rather than the wage packet. I hope that makes sense.
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, makes perfect sense. Gemma, would you like to add anything?
In terms of wages, I mean, coming into the education sector, we don't tend to do it for the money. We do it for the love of the job more than the money, really. I don't do this job for the money. I do it because I do love the job. And just back to what Dale said, really, it's absolutely crucial that you do a job that you really enjoy. Sometimes it can be to your detriment if your job is your hobby and your hobby is your job because you love it so much. And it is important to have other interests. But yeah, I mean, teachers can start at around 25,000 a year once you've started to graduate. That can go up to managerial, 35 to 40 and so forth. So, yeah.
Fantastic. One last question. And Drivix asked this question: how important is work experience when getting a job? And that kind of fits in perfectly with what you were going to be talking about, Gemma, regarding volunteering work experience and the T level. So if I pose the question to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So work experience is essential. We work with around 1,500 employers a year across a range of sectors. And what they're constantly telling us is that, yeah, it's important to have a qualification, and certainly in certain industries and for certain jobs. But more than anything, they want to see that you've got some experience on your CV. So what we try to do is get you out on, or get students out on longer term placements with an employer. You're not just making tea, you are actually practicing the technical skills or knowledge that you need for the job that you want to do in the future. So work experience is critical for applying for jobs. And like I say, it isn't just what you've done at school, it's about what we can do to really help push you into the direction that you want to go in for your career as well. We have got a new suite of qualifications that were launched across the UK this year called T-Levels. They are 2-year qualifications at level 3, and they've been designed by employers to fill the skill shortages and to really be able to give young people the opportunity to get the skills that are needed out there as well. So yeah, thank you.
Does anybody else want to add anything else to the work experience? I know we've discussed volunteering, because volunteering and work experience go hand in hand. Does anybody else like to add anything on to Drewitt's question? Oh, Keith, you're unmuted.
Dale, you're not the only one, my friend. It happens. No, yeah. The only thing I would say is that, yeah, I do agree. The work experience is very important, and and most employers are out there looking for that. But please don't sort of forget about your own life experiences. They can teach you a lot as well. So it doesn't necessarily have to be work. Going out there and getting life experience, put yourself forward for those things that are probably a little bit out of your comfort zone that you probably wouldn't like to venture into. By venturing into those elements, are you going to learn more about yourself and what you're capable of doing? So it's always a good idea to try and get that life experience as well. You know, and a lot of that, I know that we've talked about it already, a lot of that does come from the volunteering side, but that Saturday job, that helping your dad down at the workshop, whatever it may be, get yourself there and get that experience as well, because it'll grow you, it'll grow your mind, and it'll give you that little bit of experience that people are looking for.
Thank you very much, everyone, for taking part in our panel today. We're going to end the session here. So it's fabulous for all of your answers. I'm sure the students will benefit greatly from what you provided to them today. So again, thank you very much for attending the panel today.
Thanks, Dina. Thanks, everyone.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Any questions,
Bye.
feel free to give us a call.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.